This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, episode 49. If you're going to be drilling holes, then you could use a drill bit, or you could use an up spiral bit to do that. I don't recommend that you use a down spiral bit. This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, a show which answers one question from you, the listener, about CNC router tables, CNC software, hardware, web hosting, and business. I'll help you get started in your CNC hobby or business and help you cut through the confusion.
Today's episode is sponsored by themakersguide.com. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Griggs, and I'm so glad you could join us today for another show. There's been a momentary break in the episodes that I've released. This is, in fact, the longest break since we started recording the CNC Router Tips Podcast, and I do apologize to you for that, but it is a short-term thing, and we should be cranking the episodes out again at a much quicker pace. Lots of things happen to cause, the major delay in releasing episodes. One of the major factors was trying to line up two guests to come onto the podcast. That is, and it's proving a little bit more difficult than I first anticipated. One of the guests is an accountant, and with it being tax time, they simply were not available to come on the show in this time. So we're going to have them on shortly. I'm sure that we will learn quite a bit from them and get some good words of advice from them on how to run your small business, with a CNC router and, taking all of your tax consequences into account. So I'm looking forward to that. And we're also going to be having another episode with an attorney who deals with small business issues and trying to protect yourself from the types of possible legal consequences that you could have as you're forming your business and putting it into the proper form, as in a business entity such as an LLC or a sole proprietorship or a corporation. So really looking forward to that as well. So these things are to come in the future, but I just wanted to let you all know that we're back at it and that you can expect some good things in the future. Now, our Facebook group has been having some phenomenal growth over this time frame. In fact, since late December, we've gone from breaking into the 5,000 member territory to now having nearly 8,000 members. In fact, probably by the time this episode appears, we will have 8,000 members. We're just over 7,800 right now. And there are a lot of folks whose memberships applications we just have not gotten to yet. So we'll very easily break the 8,000 mark very quickly. So I'm very happy with that. The folks inside the group are very active. They're posting lots and lots of unique projects, and knowledge is being shared by everyone. So if you would like to be part of that community, you can check us out at facebook.com/groups/CNC Router Tips. And that'll get you to the group. Been doing quite a few projects of late, mostly honing in on getting the production of the triple edge finders to the point where I was very happy with it, using the new Tormach milling machine, which we've talked about in the previous episode. In fact, in episode 48, CNCRT 48, and you can find that at cncroutertips.com/48. We discussed, my leasing of the Tormach milling machine and some of the reasons behind my purchase of it. And, if you're at all interested in that, you can go back through that and listen to that episode, or you could also check out episode 45, where I go into great detail on why I bought that machine. But it would be cncroutertips.com/45, and that would get you to that episode. Many of the improvements that I've been making to the triple edge finder have included, a better surface finish, and we're fly cutting the top surfaces now to give it like a mirror-like finish. We're also doing some engraving on the surface using a diamond drag engraving bit, and that has been a really great experience. It's one of my favorite purchases actually for this. I have used the diamond drag engraver on my CNC router before to make LED lighted plexiglass signs, and it was fantastic. But this is the first time that I'd actually used a diamond drag engraver with metal, and in this case it's aluminum, and the results are just amazing. The level of detail is really good. So I'm glad that I went to that step. Does it make the triple edge finder any more functional? No, but it does add that custom touch that lets people know, this is the triple edge finder from the Maker's Guide, and help build the brand out, make it identifiable. So to me, it was worth the extra time that it's added to create these, and I hope that it meets with everybody's approval. For those of you who do not know what a triple edge finder is, it's a device that lets you find your X, Y, and your Z zero locations quickly, and allows you to repeat that process in case of stopping in the middle of the program or having a power outage. So it can save your work piece for you. So that's one of the products that we have, and I'm sure you'll hear the advertisement for it someplace in this show. So I'm very, very happy, and it's making that product was one of the whole reasons why I went with the milling machine in the first place. So it's very cool. So one of the things that keeps coming up inside of the group and in discussions lately is there have been an increasing number of instances where people have had either smoke or in some cases fire occur with their CNC routers. And it's usually happens when somebody leaves the machine unattended. And there are a variety of reasons why this can be happening. For instance, something goes wrong in the program, or something hangs up mechanically with your machine, and the bit is left spinning in place and creates friction, which can cause the sawdust and the particles that are there to kindle. And I see this happening more and more. And I started to look into some of the root causes to why I think this was happening, because there were many instances where there was absolutely nothing wrong with the program or the machine at the time when these kindling events started. And I noticed one thing that was in common in most of them. Many times these would start when someone used a down spiral bit. And for those of you who do not know what a down spiral bit, it's a bit that ejects the sawdust out beneath it as it cuts. And this is different from an up spiral bit, which ejects the sawdust up out of the hole as doing. So when people are using these down spiral bits to drill a hole, they're essentially just plunging the bit down into the piece. And as the bit is going, it's pushing sawdust beneath it. And that begins to compact into the bottom of the hole. And, these bits are spinning at thousands of RPM, and they're going to create friction. And sometimes that can actually cause the sawdust to smolder and maybe to kindle. And then the router bit will retract up out of the hole and move on to the next cutting spot. And when it does that, oxygen now has a chance to get in where it may not have had before and continue this process. And so you could be cutting on, 5 minutes later, a half hour later, an hour later, not realizing that you have sawdust, which is smoldering in the bottom of that hole. And it may not burst into flames. It may not immediately ignite, but it might continue to get hotter and hotter down in that hole, and then to spread outward and char the bottom of the part, and then continue on into your spoil board. Now, if you add dust collection to this whole process, you can see that you could get into a really serious problem if that burning ember got sucked up into your dust collector and down into a pile of sawdust and left to sit for hours. So the point is, you should, and this is just my personal opinion, but if you're going to be drilling holes as part of your CNC project, then you could use a drill bit, or you could use an up spiral bit to do that. I don't recommend that you use a down spiral bit when you're going to drill a hole, or you're going into a very small area and, doing a bunch of machining. I just think that might be one of the root causes. There are times when a down spiral bit is the perfect bit, and that's for when you want to have a pocket with a nice, clean, level surface. But as far as drilling is concerned, I don't think it's the appropriate tool, and I just wanted to share that with you and make sure that that message got out to you who may still be new to the world of CNC, that it can be, it can be one of those situations that you can be caught unaware. So, I did an episode a while ago, I believe it was in January of 2016, about, safety for your CNC. If you have the time, I think that would be a good episode for folks to go back to and listen to, and consider some of the things that we talk about in that episode. Okay, I went back and really quick, and I looked up that episode just so that you'd have a good reference for it. And it was actually episode 21, which was released on December 23rd. So it is CNC Router Table Safety Tips. Okay, and that's a great episode, and I think you should listen to it. It talks about things like fire prevention, keeping a fire extinguisher, smoke alarms, that sort of thing. That's all covered in that episode, including links to some items that you could get to help your situation and to make your shop safer. So if you get a chance, check that out, cncroutertips.com/21. Now, another thing that goes hand in hand with, the fire safety issues that you may have is the thought of leaving your machine unattended. I know for many of us, particularly when we're doing 3D projects, the cut profiles that we can be doing can take, hours, many hours to complete. And you don't necessarily like having to stand by the machine or to, sit by the machine while all the cutting is going on. And so many people have taken to leaving the machine. Now, as you can hear, my voice is getting weaker. I'm just recovering from laryngitis, which is another reason why it's been a while since I've done an episode. I've been unable to. But many people will leave the machine unattended while it is cutting and go do something else in another part of their house and just come back and check periodically on the machine. And that can be a really dangerous thing to do, because any number of things can happen, as we mentioned earlier, while you're gone. So my personal preference is to be there throughout the entire cut. And I know that's not possible for everybody. But what I try and do when I know I'm going to be cutting a really long project is to arrange some other activity to do some other activity in the area while the machine is cutting. So, for instance, I may be working on my miter saw or on the milling machine or in the CNC router or on the lathe while, the program is running, so that I'm still in the general area and I'm close enough to respond to most things that happen, quickly. Obviously, I won't be quick enough to hit the emergency stop button if the program just, loses steps or whatever, so I may lose a part that way, but at least I'm in the area if something catastrophic goes on and, have time to respond to it and to know what's going on. And I advise you to come up with some method of doing the same. I know that some people have discussed putting in video cameras and monitoring that on, a network-enabled device from another area of the house, and that may work for some of you. I have not tried that. I don't know how effective it would be for me, but, that is one thing. There are other people who have used baby monitors near the machine so that they could hear what was going on, because usually you can hear a change in the cutting sounds when something different is happening. But, I, again, have not tried that. And, I'd like to hear from you how you deal with this situation. The easiest way is to stay with the machine. But if you've got some idea or tip that you would care to share with our listeners about how you deal with this, then you can write to me. You can write to me, or you can leave me a voicemail at cncroutertips.com/askme, ASKME. Okay, I'm going to keep this episode short because I'm running out of voice fairly quickly, in fact, quicker than I expected. But I want to take this chance to read a few comments from some of the members in our Facebook group, the hashtag CNC Router Tips group. And this one was from Chet Witherell. And he says, I usually spend a few minutes greeting new members, but I've been very busy and haven't taken the time lately. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the helpful nature of this group and its members. This is my favorite Facebook group of all time. Thanks to the one and only Bill Griggs for hosting and moderating such a great resource for people in the CNC world. Whether you're experienced or brand new, there's always something to learn. Thank you, Chet. That was awesome. The next comment was from Johanna Hack, and it says, good morning to all the amazing people in this fantastic group. So I wanted to start out by thanking Bill Griggs for all his hard work and his vision for this group. From where I stand, this group has been the greatest in terms of inspiration and knowledge, but more importantly, the funniest group ever. Without humor, life would be so boring. Another comment came in from group member J. Lee Fox, who says that this is the best supporting group ever. Thank you so much for all your help along the way. Thank you, J. Lee. These messages just keep coming inside of the group, and I want to read you one that's a little bit longer from Jamie Birch. It says, Bill Griggs, this is the best Facebook group that I've ever seen. You're doing an amazing job. Because of this group, I'm doing something that I never thought I'd be able to do. And I said, thanks, Jamie, that means a lot. And he says, well, it's true. I'd have a machine in my shop that I wouldn't be able to run. Actually, I'd have already gotten rid of it. This group and people I've met in it have kept me in the game. That kind of sums it up, the way that people feel about the folks inside the hashtag CNC Router Tips Facebook group. And I am so grateful and thankful for each and every one of you who makes this great group what it is. And I'm just glad that I could be a small part of helping bring you all together. And it's been a pleasure. and I look forward to seeing it grow. And I just wanted to, take the time to shout out to each and every one of you that left a comment, unsolicited, actually, comment about the group and, what it means to you, because it really means a lot. This is the one thing that I never thought I could do, and I'm so proud of it, that is bringing all of you together into a group so we can share our common interest, and that is CNC routers. So thank you again for all of your kind words. And I know there are many more who've made comments out there, and I just simply can't cover them all. But I figured this would give folks a taste of how you, the members, feel about this group and why it's a good place to want to be. So if you're listening to this podcast and you'd like to join our Facebook group, there's no cost. You come and get your questions answered at facebook.com/groups/CNC Router Tips, all one word.
Today's episode is sponsored by The Maker's Guide, creator of the Triple Edge Finder. Get the edge you need, save time and frustration on your CNC project, and make setup a snap. Save time and material. Set up your workpiece on your CNC router table faster than ever. Accurately set your Z-axis height first time, every time. Automatically locate the corner or edge of a workpiece. Reset your starting point in the middle of a program. Quality crafted right here in the USA on US-made CNC machines. Get the edge you need today. Go to www.themakersguide.com/edge. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
One last thing before I go. I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of the folks who I got a chance to meet at the Woodworking Show in Atlanta, Georgia, in April. Many members of the CNC Router Tips group on Facebook came out to that show, and I got to meet them in person for the first time. Dave Gatton was there. Mike Murky was there. The list is just incredible. Mark Lindsay was there. I got to spend a good deal of time with James Trimble. I got a chance to walk the show floor with James for quite a while, and I had a great time getting to know him. He's very cool guy. Also, I got to meet Nicholas Wigan and Lee Grant, and the names just it was amazing. I probably met 20 members of the group in person for the first time, and I had a blast. And guys, I really, really do appreciate the chance to have gotten to know each one of you. Thank you. It's been the highlight of my year so far. We had a great gathering and get together at Joel Crawford's workshop one evening of the show, and there were probably close to 100 people there, if not more. And it was a really good chance to meet some woodworkers and makers, and just talk about the weekend. Fantastic show. I will try and plan to go back to that next year because I had a good time there and got to meet a lot of great people. So thank you again to everyone. I'm going to cut this episode short because my voice is now officially gone. So thank you, everyone. Please contact us if you've got a question for the CNC Router Tips podcast at cncroutertips.com/askme, and I will be glad to get your question on the air. I often mention many different types of software during the episodes, and hardware and cutters, and it can get a little confusing. So what I did was I put together a page on my website, cncroutertips.com/resources. And on that page, I list all sorts of resources there, from books to tools to software, all the things that I use that make my CNC experience better and easier. And I hope you'll check it out. So again, it's cncroutertips.com/resources. Now, if you'd like to have your question featured on the air, here's how. Need help? Ask me about your CNC router question on my podcast, the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'll be glad to help or try and get you the help you need. I want this podcast to be a fun and personal experience for everyone and helpful. So let's keep it real and ask sensible questions. Please use common sense and show courtesy to everyone. That way everybody wins. Here are some guidelines to ensure that your question is qualified to be featured on the show. Please keep your questions under 1 minute in length. If it goes a little over that, that's fine, but don't ramble. If you have a website and URL, you're allowed to share it, but only once during the recording. Spammy or disrespectful or deeply private questions will not be considered for the podcast. If you need to ask more than one question, just make each question a separate voicemail. Thank you, everyone. I'm Bill Griggs. Have a great day.